These are daily affirmations you can speak over yourself from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Principle 1. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. I choose understanding over criticism. When I am tempted to condemn, I pause and ask, what would it feel like to stand where they stand? That question changes everything. Criticism never produces the change I want. It only hardens resistance. I lead with curiosity and compassion instead, and find that people move towards me rather than away. I have released the habit of complaint. Complaint focuses my energy on what is wrong. I redirect that same energy toward what I can do, what I can build, what I can offer. I give people the benefit of the doubt, not because they have earned it in every case, but because extending it says something about who I am. Principle 2. Give honest and sincere appreciation. I look for what is genuinely worth appreciating in every person I encounter, and I say it out loud. Sincere appreciation is one of the most powerful gifts I can give. I do not flatter, I appreciate. The difference is integrity. Flattery is what I say to get something. Appreciation is what I say because it is true and it deserves to be said. I make people feel seen, not for what they can do for me, but for who they are. That kind of recognition changes people. It changes relationships, it changes rooms. I water what I want to grow. Every time I sincerely acknowledge the good in someone, I invite more of it to the surface. My appreciation is an act of creation. Principle 3. Arouse in the other person an eager want. I think about what the other person wants before I speak about what I want. That single habit transforms every conversation, every negotiation, every relationship. The only way to truly influence someone is to show them how what I am asking connects to what they already care about. I take the time to find that connection every time. I frame every request in terms of the other person's interest, not because I am being manipulative, but because it is honest, and because it is the only approach that actually works. Principle 4. Becoming genuinely interested in the other people. I am genuinely curious about the people in front of me, their story, their struggles, their dreams. That curiosity is not a technique. It is a posture I have chosen to live from. People can tell the difference between real interest and performed interest. I offer the real kind. I ask questions because I actually want to know the answers. I make people feel like the most important person in the room, because in the moment I am with them, they are. Full presence is a rare and remarkable gift, and I give it freely. Principle 5. Smile. I show up with warmth. My face, my energy, my openness, all of it signals to the world I am glad to be here, and I am glad who you are here too. A genuine smile costs nothing and means everything. It says, I see you, I welcome you, I am not a threat. It opens doors before a single word is spoken. I choose to bring a spirit of warmth and approachability into every room I enter. Not as a performance, but as an expression of genuine goodwill toward every person I meet. Principle 6. Remember that a person's name is the sweetest sound to them. I remember names, and when I use someone's name, I am saying, you matter enough to me that I held space for you in my mind. That matters to people more than they can say. I am intentional about learning the names of the people I meet. It is a small discipline with outsized impact. It makes people feel individually valued in a world that often treats them as interchangeable. When I call someone by name, I am speaking directly to their identity. I use this power carefully, consistently, and with genuine respect for the person behind the name. Principle 7. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. I listen to understand, not respond. When I give someone my complete, undivided attention, I am offering them something that most people almost never receive. I ask questions that invite people into their own story. The best conversationalists I know are not the ones who talk the most, they are the ones who listen the deepest. When I encourage people to talk about themselves, I am not performing interest. I am practicing the belief that every person carries something worth knowing. I mean it. Principle 8. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. Before I speak about what I care about, I find out what they care about. Then I build a bridge between the two. That bridge is where real connection happens. I enter every conversation asking, what matters most to this person right now? When I speak to that honestly, not manipulatively, I become someone worth talking to. I make my interests relevant by connecting them to theirs. This is not a trick, it is the most respectful thing I can do. Acknowledging that their world matters as much as mine. Principle 9. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. I treat every person I meet as someone who matters deeply because they do. Every human carries a dignity that deserves to be honored, not managed. Making people feel important is not about stroking egos. It is about recognizing the genuine worth that every person carries. I see it and I reflect it back to them. The deepest human hunger is to feel significant. I satisfy that hunger in the people around me through sincere acknowledgement, genuine attention, and honest appreciation. Principle 10. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. I do not argue, not because I have no convictions, but because I have learned that all arguments almost never change minds. They only harden positions. I choose influence over victory. When I feel the pull to argue, I pause. I ask myself, do I want to win this exchange, or do I want to advance the relationship? The answer guides my next word. I welcome disagreement as information, not as a threat. When someone pushes back, I get curious. I look for what they see that I might be missing. Principle 11. Show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say you're wrong. I approach disagreement with humility. I may be right, but I am not the only person who has thought carefully about this, and I hold my position with open hands. When I think someone is wrong, I do not say so directly. I ask questions, I offer a different frame, I invite them to consider, and I remain genuinely open to being the one who reconsiders. The words, "you're wrong," closes doors. The words, "help me understand your thinking," opens them. I have chosen which kind of conversationalist to be. Principle 12. If you are wrong, admit it quickly and empathetically. When I am wrong, I say so immediately, clearly, and without defensiveness. There is more strength in that admission than in any argument I can make to defend my error. Admitting fault disarms conflict. It says, I am more committed to truth than to being right. That posture earns respect in ways that winning arguments never could. I do not linger in self-criticism after I admit a mistake. I acknowledge it, correct what I can, and move forward. Accountability is not the same as self-punishment. Principle 13. Begin in a friendly way. I enter every difficult situation with warmth, not armor. Friendliness is not weakness. It is strategic, disarming, and the posture most likely to produce what I actually want. A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of vinegar. I lead with what connects us before I address what divides us. That sequence changes outcomes. The tone I set in the first moments of a conversation determines the tone of the whole conversation. I choose my opening carefully, always leading with goodwill. Principle 14. Get to the other person saying yes, yes, immediately. I start with what we agree on. I build a foundation of yes before I introduce anything that requires negotiation. Common ground is not a consolation, it is a strategy. I find what is already true for both of us and I name it. That shared truth becomes the ground we both stand on. From there, moving together becomes possible. I ask questions that have natural, genuine yes answers, not to manipulate, but to demonstrate that I have actually listened and that I understand where they are coming from. Principle 15. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. I resist the urge to fill every silence with my own voice. The most powerful thing I can do in many conversations is simply hold the space and let the other person fill it. When people have the chance to express themselves fully without interruption, they feel heard. And people who feel heard are infinitely more open to what comes next. I speak less than I think I should. Every time I resist talking over someone, I'm making a deposit into the relationship account. I make that deposit consistently. Principle 16. Let the other person feel the idea is his or hers. I plant seeds and step back. I ask the question that leads to the insight and then let the other person arrive there themselves. Their ownership of the idea multiplies its power. No one is fully invested in someone else's idea. When I can guide people to reach the conclusion themselves, I have created something far more durable than persuasion. I ask instead of tell. I suggest instead of direct. I invite instead of demand. These habits require patience, but they produce alignment that coercion never could. Principle 17. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Before I respond, I genuinely try to inhabit the other person's perspective, not as a concession, but as a commitment to seeing the full reality of the situation. Every person I disagree with has a reason for their position that makes sense from where they stand. I take the time to understand that reason before I respond to it. Empathy is not agreement. I can fully understand someone's point of view without sharing it. That understanding, offered genuinely, transforms what is possible between us. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. I say the magic words. I don't blame you one iota for feeling that way. In your position, I would feel exactly the same. And I mean it, because usually I would. Sympathy opens doors that argument slams shut. I offer it generously, not as a tactic, but as a genuine expression of my recognition that the human feelings deserve to be honored. I do not rush people through their feelings to get to the part where they agree with me. I sit with them in their experience first. That patience is what makes the next step possible. Principle 19. Appeal to the nobler motives. I believe the best about people, and I say so. When I treat someone as someone who wants to do the right thing, I invite them to live up to that image of themselves. Every person has a version of themselves they aspire to be. I speak to that version. I address the person they are becoming, not just the one standing in front of me. I frame my requests in terms of values, fairness, integrity, generosity, courage. When people see their own best values reflected in what I'm asking, they rise to meet it. Principle 20. Dramatize your ideas. I do not just state the truth, I make it vivid. Stories, images, demonstrations. Whatever brings an idea to life and makes it unforgettable. The truth is not enough if no one feels it. I communicate in ways that engage the imagination. Facts inform, stories transform. I use both, always, and I watch the difference it makes in how people receive what I'm saying. I make my ideas memorable by making them experiential. I show rather than tell wherever I can. I create moments of understanding that the mind wants to hold on to. Principle 21. Throw down a challenge. I appeal to people's desire to excel, not through pressure or fear, but through the invitation to rise. Most people will reach farther when they are given a worthy challenge than when given a comfortable assignment. I believe people are capable of more than they currently demonstrate, and I communicate that belief through the challenges I offer and the standards I hold. I make the work interesting. I find the competitive spirit, the desire to master, the hunger to prove something, and I speak to it with genuine enthusiasm for what they are capable of. Principle 22. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. When I need to deliver difficult feedback, I begin with what is genuinely good, not to soften the blow, but because the good is real and deserves to be said first. Praise before correction is not manipulation. It is the recognition that even the person who needs to change is also a person who deserves to be seen in their fullness. I establish common ground before I introduce challenge. I affirm what is working before I address what is not. That sequence makes everything that follows easier to hear. Principle 23. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. I point toward the correction without pointing at the person. The goal is to never make someone feel small. It is to help them see something they have not yet seen. Indirect correction preserves dignity. When I can redirect behavior without direct accusation, Both parties lead the conversation with their full self-respect intact. I address the behavior, not the character. I correct the action, not the person. This distinction is the difference between a conversation that builds and one that breaks. Principle 24. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. Before I offer correction to someone else, I acknowledge my own imperfection. This is not false humility. It is the honest recognition that I have been wrong before and I will be again. Sharing my own struggles and failures before I address someone else's makes the correction feel like solidarity rather than condemnation. We are in this together. My willingness to own my own mistakes earns me the right to speak honestly into someone else's. Credibility in correction comes from demonstrated humility, not from position or authority. Principle 25. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. I lead with questions rather than commands. Questions invite ownership. Commands create resentment. I want the people around me invested in the outcome, not merely compliant. When I ask, "What do you think would work here?" instead of issuing an instruction, I make the other person a co-creator. Their investment in the outcome multiplies the quality of the result. I have replaced most of my directives with questions, and I have watched the culture around me change. People who feel asked are more engaged than people who feel told. Principle 26. Let the other person save face. I never back someone into a corner. I always leave a door open. People will almost do anything to avoid public humiliation, and I make sure they never have to. Allowing someone to save face costs me nothing and preserves something irreplaceable, their dignity. And a person whose dignity is intact is a person who can still grow. Even when I am completely right and they are completely wrong, I find a way to let them exit the situation with their self-respect. The relationship is more than the victory. Principle 27. Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. I catch people doing things right. Not just the big ones, the small ones too. The incremental improvements, the efforts that didn't quite succeed but showed the right direction. Specific, timely praise for all improvements is the most powerful growth accelerant I know. It says, "I see you trying, and what you are doing is working. Keep going." I praise progress, not just achievement. The person who is working towards something deserves to hear that their effort is visible and valued, even before the destination is reached. Principle 28. Give the person a fine reputation to live up to. I speak the best version of people into existence. When I tell someone, "You have always been someone who follows through," even if they are wavering, I give them a standard to meet. People rise to the reputation we give them. I am deliberate about the identities I offer the people around me. I give them names worth growing into. I call out character before I call out action. When I address the person someone is becoming rather than the behavior they are currently showing, I accelerate transformation. Principle 29. Use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct. I frame growth as accessible, not as an indictment. The goal is never to convince someone of how far they have to go. It is to convince them that the next step is within reach. Encouragement is not empty praise. It is the honest communication that improvement is possible and that I believe in the person's capacity to achieve it. I mean every word. When I make the path forward feel manageable, people take it. My job as a leader and as a human being is to remove the psychological obstacles to growth, not to add to them. Principle 30. Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. I make what I am asking feel like an opportunity, not a burden. When I can help someone see that what I am requesting serves their own interests, I have created genuine motivation. I offer authority, responsibility, and recognition wherever I can. People are not machines. They respond to meaning, to significance, to the feeling that what they do matters. I send people away from conversations with me feeling better about themselves. That is the standard I hold. Every interaction is a chance to add to someone's sense of worth and possibility. I hope this blesses you. Grace and peace.